Angela here again at the Chicken Coop Homestead, and I'm continuing on my preparedness video series for the homestead. I have been extremely busy. I don't even know what I've been doing, but I've been busy. And so it's been a little bit of a gap, but I am working on this series, so y'all don't give up on me, okay? All right, so the first thing we're going to talk about is our pantry. And there are a million videos out there on stocking up your pantry. I'm just adding my thoughts into the mix and going over the things that I do and how I do it here at the Chicken Coop Homestead. So let's get started. So main thing is, look at what is in your pantry and what you cook on a regular basis and start stocking up on those items. There is no reason to stock up on sauerkraut when your family does not eat sauerkraut. There's no reason for it. So look at your own pantry, what your family eats and what your family likes, and start stocking up. If you just go to the store and buy a little bit extra every time you go, eventually your pantry will be stocked. And for what I do now, because my pantry is pretty well stocked, I just look at the sale circular at the grocery store every week and I buy what's on sale. I don't buy hardly anything else but what's on sale except for maybe bread and milk. If it's not on sale, I normally don't buy it. Now my husband does because he likes snackies and all that kind of stuff, but I'm the bread and butter cooking type person, so that's what I have, okay? That's what I shop for. So I just buy what's on sale, whether I really need it or not. I mean, I don't need it if I've got 100 of something. I don't need to buy it, but I'm telling you, when you buy it on sale, it will never be, its prices are only going to go up. They're not going to go lower. So if you're buying it on sale, that you're going to do the best you can do is buying it on sale. So let me kind of go over some things that I do in my pantry and some of the things how I do it, okay? Now, first off, one of the things that you need to do besides your pantry is you need skills. You need to organize. You need to be organized. You need to be putting your things in your pantry. The things that are going to look at your expiration date, things that are going to expire, the closest, put those in the front, put your new stuff in the back, rotating your stock so that you're not wasting food. That's very important, and you need to learn skills, cooking skills, cooking skills, cooking skills. So many people nowadays do not know how to look at your pantry, what is in there and what can I make from that. They only know how to follow a recipe, something like that. True cooking is just knowing what you have and what can I do with that, okay? And so sometimes my cooking videos are hard to tell you because I'm cooking, not following a recipe. I'm just cooking, okay? And that you learn how much of a seasoning and things like that you need for that recipe. Secondly, skills, what I'm talking about is you need to be learning how to can. You need to be learning wine making. You need to be learning how to make vinegar. You need to be learning how to ferment. Take on one of those things and learn how to do that. There's tons of videos on that on YouTube about learning how to do winemaking. I just learned how to do that. And I made wine, and I don't even drink wine. I don't even like wine. The reason why I did it is because with my herb things, you can preserve your herbs if you don't have alcohol to preserve your herbs. Years and years ago, they used to use vinegar or wine. So that's also why I did it. And then secondly, wine can be something that you trade if poop hits the fan. People are going to want some wine and you might could trade with wine. So learn winemaking skills. Vinegar making. Learn how to make apple cider vinegar. There are so many things you can do with apple cider vinegar. You know, it can be used in herb making. If you don't have your alcohol, you can preserve your herbs, make tinctures and things with that. And then fermenting. Learn how to ferment, you know, sauerkraut. Learn how to ferment pickles. Anything like that that you want to learn, you need to be learning those skills. Skills can never be taken from you. And it might be those skills that are the things that's going to be the best thing that you have in your arsenal when poop hits the fan. Some of the other things, now, these are the things that I can. And I'm not a huge canner, but I can, okay? And I have these things, okay? Soups. The soups that I can, I do like a 16 bean soup. I had a video on that I did. I can like a roast, and potatoes and carrots. It's not really a soup, but it's kind of like a meal in a jar type thing. So I can that. And then I can French onion soup. And I use my French onion soup when I make like a smothered pork chop or a roast or things like that. I use my French onion soup. And then broths. I have tons of broths. I have ham broth, chicken broth, and turkey broth. I think those are the ones that I have. And beef broth. I make a lot of broths. Broths, if you have nothing else in your pantry, that is one of the good things that you can start with, is learning how to make a broth, to do a broth. You can use that to make your soups. You can use that to make gravies. You could, all sorts of things you can use your broth for, or just drink a broth warmed, you know, might be all you could do, but that's very nourishing. A good broth is very nourishing. So that might be one of your first canning forays, is learning how to can broth, okay? Spaghetti. I do my own spaghetti sauce. I have a video on that. I can potatoes. I can apples and pear sauce. I've canned sauerkraut, green beans. I do have some store-bought green beans in cans, but I pretty much could sustain our family for a year on the green beans that I grow here in my garden and that I can. Pinto beans, I'm trying to learn to grow pinto beans, but so far I've grown them, but it hasn't been a big enough quantity. But buying pinto beans and storing pinto beans in your pantry is very easy, and I can them. It is the most simplest thing to can, your pinto beans. And you can go ahead and put your seasoning in there, and it's just like opening up a jar. The jar is just like opening up a can, and they're already seasoned. They are so good like that. It is so nice to have that ready for a quick and simple, easy meal. Purple hull peas, black-eyed peas, I can both of those, and I grow both of those. I've canned squash and onions, pepper sauce. I don't really can the pepper sauce, but I make pepper sauce. That is so easy. I think I have a video on that as well. And you would think, well, why do I need a lot of pepper sauce? If poop hits the fan, you're not going to have a ton of seasonings, and maybe some pepper sauce might make something a little tolerable, you know. Jellies. I make a lot of jellies. I've done all sorts of kind of jellies. All sorts of varieties. I've done jellies. Pears and apples, whole pears and apples. I've done those. Pickles, of course. And I've done jalapenos, pickled eggs, just regular pickles, banana peppers, sweet potatoes. We live in an area that we have a ton of sweet potato farmers. There's a little town up the road that does a sweet potato festival. So I don't grow sweet potatoes. I know how to grow sweet potatoes, but I live so close to the grower that I'm getting them right out of the field. It's just a no-brainer for me that I just need to just buy sweet potatoes. So that's what I do, is sweet potatoes. But I can them, and I've canned baked beans. So those are kind of the things that I can on a regular basis. So those things are in my pantry, and a lot of them. Okay, those are the other things that I have in my pantry that I keep well stocked is sauces. And when I say sauces, I mean spaghetti sauce, pizza sauce, Alfredo sauce. And you're thinking, well, you can spaghetti sauce. Why do you have those? Well, if they're on sale really, really cheap, I try to keep 2 or 3 jars just in case, if my daughter needs them. If I needed to give a bag of food away, that would be a good thing to put in there. Spaghetti sauce, pizza sauce, just in there to make like little snack pizzas, little personal pan pizzas for the grandbabies. That's why I do it. I don't keep a ton of them, but I do have a few on hand because I have a lot of my own spaghetti sauce. Let's see, oils. So like, you know, vegetable oil, olive oil, avocado, whatever oil that you use, having 2 or 3 good jugs of oil on hand is nice. It's hard to buy oils and keep them long, extremely long term because they will go rancid. So, you know, be careful with your oils, but, you know, having some oils on hand would be good. Dressings, you know, ranch style dressings, Italian dressings, just I try to keep 2 or 3 of those type of things. Can you live without ranch style dressing? Yes, but you know, I like to have it. So a few dressings. Tuna or canned chicken, one of those two. Spam, those type canned meats, a canned ham, canned chicken. Try to keep a lot of those on stock. I buy tuna. I have a lot of tuna. When you look on the expiration date of tuna, it's like 10 years away. It is a long-term food storage is tuna fish. And so that is one thing that I would say that you need to have a lot of stocked up on is tuna. Salt and pepper. I do try to keep 2 or 3 things of salt, 2 or 3 things of pepper stocked up. We live very close to Morton Salt that has the largest deposit of salt that could supply the rest of the world with salt. So I feel like if I had to, I could get a hold of some salt if need be, but I do like to keep a lot of salt and pepper on hand. And really that stuff won't go bad, so having it on hand is nice. Sugar. I do store a lot of sugar. I say a lot. I would say probably I have at one time 40 pounds of sugar probably. Flour, I probably have less because I don't do a lot of baking. I'm not a big baker, but I can. I can make bread. That's another skill you need to learn how to do is make sourdough and sourdough bread because you can always make bread with sourdough. You don't have to have yeast. You don't have to. Learning how to keep your sourdough starter going is a skill. So that would be another skill that you might want to learn how to do. Peanut butter, mac and cheese, other types of mixes for like easy quick meals like gumbo mixes, those type things. Of course I have all that. Crackers don't last very long as far as long-term storage, but my husband loves crackers. He goes through some crackers. So I always have 2 or 3, 4, 6 boxes of crackers at one time in my pantry because he likes crackers. Stevia. Now, my husband uses stevia, and this year I grew stevia out in the garden and actually dried it and ground it up and have my own homemade stevia. I only had a couple of plants of it, and so I didn't make a ton, but that is one of the things this next year that I plan on growing more of is stevia. Now mine, the stevia that you buy in the store, when it says raw, it's either kind of a brown color or a white color. Mine is green because it's right off the leaves, but it tastes just like stevia. It is extremely sweet. It is powdered just like stevia, and that is one of the things that I'm planning on growing more of this year and trying to even be able to stock my own amount of stevia for the year. Bouillon. Even though I can a lot of broths, I do have beef bouillon and chicken bouillon and tomato bouillon. I keep a lot of that on hand. And the reason for a lot of my recipes that I can with, especially my pinto beans, a lot of my beans, is if you don't have your own homemade broth to pour in there, if you put a bouillon in there, with your water, it makes such a good taste. And then those beans soak that up as they're being processed in your canner, and they have just a completely different taste than when you just can them in the water. So I do try to keep a lot of bouillon on hand. Okay, potatoes. You know, boxed potatoes, potatoes in packaging, instant potatoes. I have potatoes in a big, gallon, dried potatoes in a gallon jar for long-term storage. Having potatoes on hand is really a nice little thing. Does it taste the same as a regular potato? No, but does it taste okay? Yes, they have come a long ways with dried potatoes. And you can make potato soup. You can make those potatoes go a long way with that. So I have a lot of dried potatoes. Cornbread like packages. I have a lot of cornbread packages. Do I know how to make cornbread by scratch, and can I do it, and do I do it? Yes. But I also like to have a few packages on hand, just if I'm in a rush, I can add an egg, add some milk, and I'm ready to go. I'm ready to make cornbread. So, just because you're stocking your pantry does not mean you can't have some convenience type things to put a meal on the table. Putting a quick meal on the table is always going to be less expensive than going through a drive-thru or going to a restaurant. So don't begrudge yourself because you're not cooking 100% of everything that you need to put on a table. If you're a woman and you're doing that, praise to you. I'm not any skin off your back. That is a wonderful, wonderful thing. But everybody needs a little bit of convenience now and then. So having some of these things is not going to hurt anything. Dried milk. I have dry milk and I have dry buttermilk. Both of those things are really good things to have. Of course, soups, canned soups, honey. A lot of honey. Honey will store forever. So start stocking up on your honey. That is a great thing. It's medicinal. You can use it in your herbal medicines and just in cooking. So honey is a nice thing to have. It in itself is medicinal. Coffee and tea. Keep a supply. I don't know if any of us, now I am growing some herbs to make teas and things with, but all of us are not growing tea, and we're not growing coffees to make coffee beans, so we might need to stock up on that. Cornstarch, baking soda. Apple cider vinegar, that is a very good thing to store up on, is apple cider vinegar. Do you need to learn how to make apple cider vinegar? Yes, but storing up some apple cider vinegar will also, it cannot go bad. So you can store gallons of it. It's easy, and it's pretty inexpensive. It can get pricey, but having some of that on hand is a good thing. Of course, all sorts of vegetables, green beans, corn, all those canned goods, whatever I cook. That's our main things that we like to eat. We don't stretch out on a bunch of different things. Is having that ramen noodles. Listen, ramen noodles is another one of those convenience things. Sometimes, you just kind of crave a package of ramen noodles. Even, I do that. But you could add to and stretch that ramen noodles to feed a lot of people if you had to. So definitely keep some ramen noodles on hand, and they will last forever. Rotel, all the canned goods of any kind of vegetables I have on hand. Mayonnaise, mustard, ketchup. I always keep several bottles of each one of those on hand. I only buy them when they're on sale. And that's what I'm saying. If you have a well-stocked pantry, you can buy these things when they're on sale and not when you need them. And then you're wasting, the 50, 60 cents. And you do that over and over and over, and all that money adds up to it's in your pocket, and you can buy more and more food with it. Cornmeal. That local festival I was talking to you about, the Sweet Potato Festival, there's a gentleman out there that brings a a grinder, a cornmeal grinder, and he grinds cornmeal, fresh cornmeal up. I always get several bags of that, put it in my freezer. I always have a lot of cornmeal on hand. I do make my own breadcrumbs. I've never made a video on that, but well, first saving your own bread, but a lot of times I don't save a lot of the hills and stuff on my bread, but that is one way to do it. I usually feed that to my chickens, but like sometimes, you know, the bakeries in the grocery store will have the reduced bread for like just pennies. I mean, like, you know, 25 cents a loaf, 50 cents a loaf. You get a few of those and, you know, slice them up and dehydrate them, grind them up, add some Italian seasoning with it, and you've made your own breadcrumbs. And I love coating things with homemade breadcrumbs. So I keep a lot of that on hand. Pasta. Can't go wrong with pasta. Everybody knows spaghetti, macaroni, whatever your pasta that you like, keep a lot of that on hand. Beans. I do have some dried beans on hand, but I prefer to go ahead and get them canned up and ready to go. But I do still save some that are dried, just so that I'll have it there. But I prefer to go ahead and can my black-eyed peas, purple hull peas, pinto beans, all those dried beans. I prefer to go ahead and can them up and have them ready to go. Rice. We eat a lot of rice, believe it or not. My son likes rice, and so I do have a lot of rice saved up. Canning salt. Canning salt is different than table salt. It doesn't have the iodine in it, so that it doesn't, when you can with it, it doesn't make things cloudy. So I do store a lot of canning salt on hand so that when I'm ready to can, I have it. So that kosher salt, canning salt, those are the types that, you know, having that on hand. Herbs that I have. This might be a whole nother section, but the herbs that I like cook with are like parsley, oregano, basil, thyme, of course garlic. I try to keep all that on hand, and I'm trying to grow definitely my parsley. I have enough parsley that I supply myself with parsley. I pretty much have enough oregano and basil that I could keep my own, so I don't have to buy that. Pepper flakes. I have enough pepper flakes that I could grind up and make cayenne pepper. I have all that. I can keep myself stocked in that. Pretty much all those cooking herbs. Sage is another one that I've started doing and making my own sage. And that's one of the things that with my herb garden that I want to have completely where I don't have to buy any herbs, that I'm doing my own herbs. And pretty much even just the last year or so when I've been growing herbs, have been pretty successful with that. I dry them and I grind them up and store them, and they're wonderful. It's really nice to have your own, the herbs that you would cook with ready that you have made yourself. There's no preservatives, there's no non-caking agents in there. It's just the herb, and that is so nice. So that would be a little foray into gardening. If you've never gardened before, maybe just start trying to grow your own herbs and process your own herbs. That could be something you could do in a very small space. So that would be one of those skills that you might try learning how to do with your herbs. Things that I like to try to keep in my pantry are jars and lids, canning jars and lids. You would be surprised. Of course, I live in a rural area where everybody's grandmother used to can, and people just don't do it anymore. But I get calls or texts all the time. I've got candy jars. Do you want them? I've got candy jars. Do you want them? Yeah, I want them. I'll take them. Yes, I will. Do I give them to other people? Yes, I'll share with you because I've been blessed so many times with people bringing me candy jars, boxes of candy jars. So definitely Start saving your jars and your lids. Every time I go to the store, last year for Christmas, for my stocking, I said, buy me candy jar lids. Put boxes of lids in my stocking. I was perfectly happy. Also, start saving your jars. There are so many nice jars that are out there when you buy stuff. When you buy your pizza sauce, or your Alfredo sauce, or your spaghetti sauce, pickles that come in, relishes, whatever, start saving those jars. You would be surprised how you can use them and then save your candy jars for the true canning. When you make pickles, or when you put vinegars and stuff together, you don't have to have a true canning jar to do that, because it's going to be processed in the vinegar that's in there. Or when you're saving your herbs, you don't have to put it in a canning jar. You could save it in just a jar that you've saved and you reuse it. There's so many uses for jars, so start saving your own jars. So a lot of times people tell you like how much of everything you need. Like you need 50-pound bag of sugar, you need a 50-pound bag of flour, you need a 50-pound bag of this, you need 12 pounds of that. I didn't include that in here. Every family is different. Every size family is different, and what you eat and don't eat is different. If you eat, some person might eat tons and tons and tons and tons and tons of pasta. They have a pasta at every meal, but you do that once a month. So me telling you to buy this certain amount of something is not really beneficial for you and your pantry. What you need to do is go through and make a list of what you cook on a regular basis, week in, week out, month in, month out. If you don't change it, you have your certain things that you cook all the time. That's what you do. Everybody does that. And then every once in a while you'll break out a new recipe. But if you have a well-stocked pantry, you will be so shocked about how little you actually have to go to the store just because you need something. Like, you already have it stocked in a pantry. So, and then you'll start actually cooking from your pantry because it's so well stocked. You don't go, well, I'd have to go to the store and get this, this, and this, so we might as well go out to eat. You know what I'm saying? If it's there and it's ready, you're more likely to cook. And then I would highly recommend you starting to can. Maybe your first things that you can is the broth, like I said, learning how to make jelly, or like learning how to can one processed meal, like my 16 bean soup, or canning roast beef or beef stew in a jar, so that it's just take the lid off and heat it up and it's ready. Those might be the things that would be your convenience foods that would prevent you from having to go out to eat, because they're so easy to just heat up, okay? So that's kind of my pantry thing. Organization in your pantry is so important. I used to do a little thing when I was working. I had baskets set up in my pantry, like 4 baskets. And when I would go grocery shopping, make out my grocery list, or pull from my pantry stock, whatever I was going to do, if I did meal planning, I would meal plan and say, I'm going to make, I'm going to cook 4 or 5 times this week, say, just for instance, and then have leftovers, etc., okay? So I had a basket in my pantry, and I put all the items that it would take, the canned goods, the pasta packages, whatever it was, besides the refrigerated items, I would put in that basket. And I would put like a little label on here and kind of have my menu, like spaghetti, salad, and garlic bread, right? So I would put all the things that was going to make spaghetti, salad, garlic bread, maybe some green beans. I would put all that stuff in that basket to make that meal. And then I would do that with each basket. So then also too, when I was working, I could tell my husband, we're going to have spaghetti tonight. If you could get the get that basket out and get a pound of, and I would have everything listed on there, like a pound of ground beef, a pound of the, you know, whatever that might be in the refrigerator. If you could get the ground beef out and start browning it, when I get home, I'll finish it up. You know what I'm saying? And then it was kind of like he could see what I had planned for that meal, and anything he could help me with was a big time saver, or my teenage daughter, or my son, or something like that. But I would have that in there. And so maybe I wasn't so regimented, like this had to be on Monday, and this had to be on Tuesday, and this had to be on Wednesday. Like, if I always would put like maybe an in-depth meal and then kind of an easy meal. So if my daughter, you know, might say, oh, I've got, you know, we've got an open house at school tonight, I didn't do that in-depth meal. I would move that, and we would have the spaghetti that meal. You know what I mean? So I would kind of have it set up. But I would do that. I would have that organized, everything in there. So if my husband had to do it, or if somebody else had to do it, you know, I don't know if you had this problem in your family, but I had my problem in my family where people walk into the pantry and all of a sudden they can't find everything. It's all in there nice and neat, lined up, and they're, you know, and I have to say, well, it's on the second shelf, back in the back, on the right, you know. They can't find it. So having those baskets ready were nice. And then I also knew I had everything for that meal. Like, I didn't have to go to the grocery store again for something. I wasn't missing an item. Because every time you go to the grocery store, you always end up picking up something that you hadn't planned on buying, spending more money. So that was a way to save the money, to be organized. I think I have a video that talks about my pantry organization and my meal prep organization when I was working and my kids were in school and all that kind of stuff. So I'll try to link that up here below. That's a good practice to get into for you working moms. So I would highly look at different people's organization tips and adapt it to your own situation. That was very helpful for me when I was a working mom and had kids involved and kids still in school. So our upcoming things we're going to talk about my herbs and things that I do and how I prepare for that. My medical preparedness, the things that I do to have a medical preparedness, the bathroom and toiletries and washing and cleaning and all those kind of things. We'll talk about more about that. But mainly is get your house in order, see what you use, and try to start stocking up little by little by little, and you will be so shocked about how much that eases your stress. And I know this seems like a lot of stuff, but if you just bite off a little bit at a time, you will be surprised what you can learn. But learn your skills. Skills are so important, y'all. Learn how to do your skills. Learn how to, you know, make wine and can, and those are going to be lost. Those are going to be, if we don't learn how to do those things. And there's so many good videos on how to do all that. So thanks for visiting with me, sticking with me. Those are the upcoming things we're going to be talking about here at the Chicken Coop for your preparedness, your homestead preparedness. And I will talk at y'all later. Bye-bye.